Hi everybody, it is Mark. I'm the prepper guy and I thought I'd do a little driving video. I was going to record the facing view or the highway because it's beautiful and green out, but my phone was freaking out for some reason. I have no idea. So let's chat a little bit. I'm kind of confused and mixed about what's going on in the world. And, us as preppers and people that want to talk about current events to our fans and those that like listening to our, I don't know, point of view, side of the argument, um, are finding it more and more difficult to do. And sure, I'm a little nobody, and maybe a lot of you on YouTube and podcasting and stuff are also wee little fish in a very large pond. But when you actually think about it, um, we have a right to speak, and yet they kind of shut it down. you know I've had a lot of my videos just shadow banned, and I know it's been shadow banned because I'll give it an AI title and all that stuff, and I won't use bad words in the first 30 seconds or whatever minutes, and yet I'll get one view, and that's me watching it to see how it turned out. And any other video I do that's basically mindless, how to build this or do that, gets a couple hundred. And I would see that, if it was just a few over time, a little here, a little there, I would think, okay, it's being shown, just people aren't interested. I get that. People aren't sharing it. I get that. But nothing. Just like it's not even there, and not even a comment or anything. And I've talked about some things that most people would comment about. So I just look at it as having an opinion or a point of view nowadays is, it's not like it used to be in the old days where you got your soapbox and you stood up and started yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs, and people would gather around and listen to you and take your pamphlet. And that's how social media started, 200 years ago or more. But I'm noticing whether you're for or against something that's going on in the media, in the world, um, people want you to have a certain way of looking at it. I was talking to a German baker. He had retired from law enforcement. He got into baking in Germany, and then he moved to America, and him and his wife had a restaurant. And he goes, "You ever wonder why a German chocolate cake always tastes the same and has the same ingredients and all that?" And I was like, "Well, not really, but I don't eat much cake." "But why is that?" He goes, "Well, because we're all licensed. In Germany, you have to be licensed to be a maid, to be a baker, to be an auto mechanic." And he goes, "So if you don't follow the recipe as taught, then you can lose your license. If you're a mechanic, it's really hard to work on your neighbor's car in your garage because you could lose your license. It's kind of like unionized, it's like you're a scab." And to me, that's just an affront to freedom and liberty. But, you know, in Germany, they don't look at it that way. And then apparently in America's unions, they don't look at it that way either. So you have to toe the line. And in America, if you don't toe the line nowadays, they will shadow ban you. Um, I had 300 videos on prepperguy.com on YouTube. And when I was talking about some of the numbers with the thing we had going on in 2020 and 21, I said these were numbers from the government, and they just like, "We don't like you using those words," and they just deleted my whole channel. Now, most of my channel was on philosophy and, being a prepper and how to make things and do all this stuff. But I talked about politics, and I always used to say that, people ask me as a prepper, why are you so focused on politics? And I would say, well, because that's the writing on the wall. See, we get it and we watch and see it, because when the shit hits the fan, it will be a politician that threw it at the fan. So I watch politics quite a bit. And I don't talk about it now anymore, hardly at all, except a few of my videos that I put up there on YouTube, and then they get banned. So I get 1 or 2 views. And then I move the link to my website where, 20, 30 people might watch it. But it's nothing like, Joe Rogan and all that. So, as a human being that's struggling to climb uphill, eventually you look and go, why am I doing this? Now, if you're pushing a large boulder uphill by yourself in America these days, and you feel it's necessary and it's important to you and your family's survival and all that, then you will struggle your whole life to get that rock up the hill. You never look at it like, once I get up the hill, I'll let it coast down. It's just getting it up there. And I look at what's going on with social media these days, and I go, not only is the rock very hard to push uphill anyway, but now there's stop signs and don't use your right hand, and only push with your left hand. You can use your legs and your back to help push it up the hill, but only once a week, and the rest of the time you have to use your left hand. But if you're left-handed, then you have to use your right hand, and you can't use sticks or levers, and you really can't even prop it up at a certain point, like put a rock under it so it don't roll back down. You can never stop, and that's the rules, and you have to do it this way. And then if you don't do it that way, what they do is come along and pick your rock up and put it at the bottom of the hill and go, there, now start over and quit trying to cheat the system. You're like, what system? My rock going up my hill. Well, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved in that, and you have so many rocks on the hill at one time. And you think to yourself, well, self, I remember this has been going on for thousands of years. Why now is it so complicated? Now, we would all like to figure out what's going on in parts of the world. And I get yelled at a lot because people are like, Mark, you just don't seem to give a shit. And people that know me, really well know why I don't give a shit anymore. But other people are like, well, I don't see why, this apathy, like you don't care what's going on over here or over there. We're sending them money and stuff. You should be concerned. And I was like, but I'm not. I don't care. I care what's going on in my country. But apparently the politicians said, don't worry about that. And if you do worry about that and talk about it, we will investigate you. And it's like, what do you mean investigate me? I'm just, it's free speech. It's like, well, yeah, it's free speech, but, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it. So my Bill of Rights is contingent on whether the government granted it to me. And they're like, yeah, that's right. That's why they wrote it down as the Bill of Rights. These are your rights. And that's it. And it's granted to you by the government. That's why it's in the Constitution. And you're like, Coma, what? The fuck are you talking about? So they've bastardized pretty much everything that's important to me. I don't know about you, but to me. And so then I took the tack to, I'll look at history. So I looked at history regarding, Russian history and Palestinians and all these histories. And I go back, to the Bible, because everybody's saying, well, it says so in the Bible. And it's like, okay, well, let me look at it. And because I'm cursed with the ability to read and understand history, I see there's a lot being said that's not true. And it's not rather they've picked a side. It's just who can they get to fund this and divide us and make life more difficult. And you're like, wow, what do you mean? And it's just like, well, if they get you to hate this group of people or think the other group of people are being oppressed or oppressing, and it really isn't what is right and wrong in history, it's just what the government can play one against the other. And so if they can get the red ants hating the black ants, that's cool. Now, if they settle down and stop being agitated with one another, like if you have them in a jar, they will pretty much live together. If you have a little ant farm here and an ant farm there, and they don't even really notice the other color ants, they don't care. But if you put them in a jar and you shake it up, then they'll kill each other. If you don't shake it up, they'll just all kind of look around and go, how do we get out of this jar? What the fuck? And they might even work together to get it, get out. But if you shake them up, they're going to kill each other. And so sometimes the government doesn't really care, which side wins. It's just, let's just shake it up and keep shaking it up because the war machine and the tax dollars keep coming in and the lobbyists, and we all get rich. It's like, well, whose side are you on? It's like, well, does it really matter? It's like, well, and I don't know if this is true, but it seems like they all get together in a room and go, okay, well, I'm for these guys and you're for those guys. It's like, okay, well, here's how you tailor your message, and here's how we'll tailor our message. But at the end of the day, we're going to get a lot of money. And if a lot of public opinion starts going to these people, well, then we'll start funding them because it's unfair. The other guys are getting all this money and they're not. And then if the tide turns again over the next 50, 100 years, then we'll fund the other guys. Like we did with the Mujahideen, during when Russia was, in Afghanistan fighting. Well, we thought, well, for some reason we don't like Russia, so let's support the Mujahideen. Ooh, sounds good. I think I heard that in that movie Tomb Raiders and The Mummy. They're cool people. I like their name. They're kind of like the Knights Templar, but they're not. And so then they get a bunch of money, and then that all kind of peters out because Russia's just got to, we're out of here. What we were trying to do, either we accomplished, and now people think we're leaving, but we're done. We're out of here. It's not helping. Whatever. And that's, they left. And then all of a sudden, the Mujahideen's got all this money and weaponry that we gave them. And they never really did like us all that much, those people. So then they start becoming terrorists. Kind of weird. So I'm not one for believing in... I like picking sides, but I'm not going to pick the two alternatives they give me. They being the deep state, the evildoers, big government, whatever, the dark side. I don't give a fuck what their name is because they change it a lot to keep you and I confused. So I read and I go, wow, that's interesting, and I tend to believe in rule of law and common sense more than religious scripture quoting because I hate that. And so I just look at it as, well, Abraham lived in the southern Levant, and so did the Canaanites. In fact, most DNA studies and genetic studies say that the Jews and the Arabs and all of those people were Canaanite. And genetically speaking, Jews and Palestinians are as kind of brothers from a different mother, but no different than my real brother, really. I mean, and when you really start looking at it, the only thing you can fall back on, say with the Israel debacle, is, well, the Bible said. And and so they continue with that. And the bullshit logic is like, well, we have a right to self-defense. Well, so do I. If some guy hits me in the bar, I can hit him back. If he knocks me out, and then when I wake up, I go over where he's sitting on the bar and I hit him, now I'm the aggressor and he has the right for self-defense. And whether you like it or not, that's just the law. The police will arrest you even though he hit you first. It's no longer self-defense when you were knocked out and he didn't stab you while you were knocked out. So his intent wasn't to kill you. So therefore you can't attack him unless you want to be considered the attacker. So yeah, did Jerusalem have a right, or Israelis, to attack a little bit back and try to get even with the big attack on, what is it, October 7th or whatever the fuck anyone cares about? Well, sure, they defended themselves. They shot at them. They shot back. They got out of there. Israel didn't respond after like 3 fucking hours because maybe they were all drinking mead or something. But anyway, so they fought back, and now it's like months later and they're still killing people. It's not proportional, and I don't give a fuck what you or anybody says. It's not proportional. If that guy hits me out, knocks me out at a bar, and then I get up and he's already gone, and I kind of knew who it was because he was being a dick, and my friends are like, yeah, that was so Bob. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I got a right to self-defense, so I'm going to go to Bob's house. It's like, oh, we'll come with you. We're your ally. And so you all show up at Bob's house and you shooting through the windows and doing shit and start his house on fire and, kind of like an airstrike. And then when Bob and his wife and kids come out, you kill them all. And Bob gets away, so you keep shooting at him and trying to kill him and wound him and all this. And then the police show up and go, what the fuck are you doing? And it's like, well, a week ago, I was in the bar, and Bob hit me in the back of the head with a bottle, and it knocked me out. I had to get 15 stitches in my head. See? Look right there. And it's like, well, that's really fucked up. You sure it was Bob? It's like, yeah, I kind of heard him say, hey, Mark, you fucker. And I turned around and caught him out of the corner of my eye. And when I was looking at it, that's when he hit me here. And I saw it was him. And all the witnesses at the bar said it was him. And everyone knew it was him. So now I'm here, because I have a right to defend myself. It's like, you burned his fucking house down. You killed 3 of his kids and shot his wife. And, he's laying in a hospital now. Smoke inhalation. It's like, oh, really? What hospital? Well, over here. I'll go see him in the hospital. Maybe I can apologize. And then you blow up his room and you kill a couple doctors. And then when people go, why'd you do that? It's like, well, anyone that knows Bob was a dick. And so therefore they're a dick. And I have a right to defend myself. So, I really hate to be that way, but I don't care. In fact, Israel could sit there until they're blue in the face to say God gave us this land. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't see a legal document that says that. What if the American Indians, which the American Indians were living here long before us, long before England, way back for a long fucking time. And maybe God gave it to them, but they just didn't have the ability to write it down because not all civilizations wrote shit down. They're like, this is our land. God gave it to us. The Father gave it to us. This is ours. So now all of a sudden here it is thousands of years later, and we've done what we've done here. And they're like, no, this is still our land. So they blow up the White House. Or they come in hang gliders and, you know, go to a music festival like, Country Thunder or something. And they're flying over and they're little fucking hang gliders and shit, dropping Molotov cocktail bombs or whatever, and then they break into a few facilities and they take some hostages and, some of them are really mad, so they kill a few people. And, then all of a sudden the news is like, they beheaded babies. They took babies out of the wombs of pregnant women and cooked them and ate them like a barbecue. And the Indians have always been barbarians, and they scalped women. And then when you look into it, you find out even the Indians, are saying we didn't do that. And now even the media is like, well, that didn't really happen. Kind of like with, October 7th. Those rumors, even Israel admitted, did not happen. So now, let me ask you, Israeli supporters and Jews in America, I guess since God gave the Americas to the Indians, we should just pack up and fucking leave. Now, we tried to be nice and get them to assimilate, but they wouldn't assimilate. So that's fuck them. They wouldn't assimilate. And the difference is we gave them reservations, but we didn't build walls around them and shoot at them with snipers when they tried to go outside and hunt, the great white buffalo. But let's say we did. I mean, we put them on reservations, just as bad. So the American Indians decide to get their land back. So, we allow them to integrate a little bit, 10, 12%, like we did, with the Balfour Agreement and all that. And now all of a sudden they've overtaken, most of America, just like Jews have done with most of Israel, which used to be called Palestine on any ancient map. So fuck that bullshit argument. And so they start doing what they do, looks like, Palestinians. And they start, pretty much kicking our ass and pushing us out and occupying it. It's like occupied Phoenix. It's like, well, that used to be ours. We built it. It's like, well, whatever. It's ours now. Fuck you. And they're throwing you out of your home. I mean, they're literally showing up at your house, literally picking you up and moving you out of your house, your apartment, your ranch, your farm. And they just bulldoze over your house and build a new one. Are you going to get pissed? Are you going to fight back? Are you going to claim self-defense? Because they're attacking you. That's what Israel's doing to the Palestinian people. Now, we've been allowing this to go on for quite a while, but it doesn't make it right or wrong. I got to get this camera adjusted somehow. It just makes it fucked up. And we've taken the side of the oppressor. We've taken the side of, in this case, the American Indian. And now your government is turning against you, or, and saying, move out of your house, I guess. Fuck, I don't know. Don't elect Hamas because they're a terrorist group. It's just, most people could make that synaptic jump without me fucking spelling it out for you. But it's the same thing. And nobody cares about the Palestinian people, even though 3,700 years ago, Abraham was a Canaanite, Arabs were Canaanites, they came from the same place. How hard is that to figure out? Obviously pretty damn hard. So we can't talk about it, and I'm sure this one will be shadow banned also, but it won't be on YouTube long. I'll move it over to prepperguy.com and you can watch it there. But I found that most people aren't really all that excited about it. They want to believe what they want to believe. This is God gave it to him. God gave it to him. God gave me this. Well, go to a courthouse and see how much of that. You know how many people have been killed by serial killers that say, God made me do it? It's like, are you fucking kidding? Who cares? You killed my family. You're just a serial killer. You're a piece of shit. Well, Manson thought he was acting under God. How many of them have there been? And it doesn't take many for them to all realize that saying God made me do it doesn't really hold up in court worth a shit. But Israel, they can fuck over people all they want. Now, to me, it doesn't matter because it's way over there. If in 3,500 years they haven't figured out which way is up, fuck them. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I don't care if Manson thought that God made him do it. Fuck him. Throw him in jail and let's get on with my life. Fuck him. Now, we get into some of the other, things that are kind of fucked up also. Like, let's look at, what's going on over there in Europe. Try not to say those words that are banned. If your daughter marries a guy and he's an asshole, and your daughter calls you up every Friday night, he hit me. So you go and talk to him. You get him arrested. She bails him back out because she loves him so much and blah, blah, blah. When, as a father or a brother, step up and say, if you touch my sister again, I'm going to bury your ass in the backyard, you silly motherfucker. Over there in Europe, see, there were many peace agreements. There were Minsk agreements. There were all these agreements that said, stop killing my people. Stop hurting my daughter, my sister. And eventually, all of these people that say, well, I agree that, Russia went into Ukraine for all the right reasons, but, they shouldn't have, invaded Ukraine. You know what? Fuck you. Maybe I shouldn't have went to that guy's house where my fucking daughter lives and kicked his ass. And yes, I would probably be arrested for trespassing. But it doesn't matter. See, eventually you have to do the right thing. Eventually, the founding father said, if I see a guy wearing a red coat, I'm going to fucking kill him. And we went to war. And in war, in case people don't remember this funny little trivia and fact, people die. And the object of any war is to get more of your enemy to die than your guys. So, yeah. In the Revolutionary War, we killed a shit ton of fucking English. And pushed them back and burned their boats and did whatever we had to do. Had Boston Tea Parties, which wasn't really a party, actually. So, I don't believe in but. Yeah, but. Because when you think about it, do you have the right to free speech? Well, sure you do. But what? Well, do you have any training? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, did you go to journalism school or writing or composition or something, The pen is mightier than the sword, so you really should curtail what you say. So it's okay. Say whatever you want. But we passed these rules that say you have to at least go to a journalism 101 school. Oh, and see, then American people are like, oh, okay. Here's some KY I bought for you so you don't just do me raw. And you're like, knock it away. It's like, shut up. We're not done with you, bitch. And so they go, Second Amendment. Well, yeah, Second Amendment. I have a right to bear arms and shall not be infringed. Now, a lot of American people don't know what shall not means. But it's kind of like in the Bible that you read and worship so much. Shall not means don't ever do it. You can't. And when it's written by the states and handed to a federal contract, like shall not miss your payment on your mortgage, it's the same fucking thing. See, you can't do it. You just can't. And so shall means will never happen. Shall not means you shall not walk on water. And you can, well, maybe I could. Styrofoam booties and stuff. It's like, no, physics dictates that you personally cannot walk barefoot on water. Shall not happen. Then that's how to the letter of the law shall not means. Well, you got a good point there, Mark. Why don't you get a CCW and for safety, public safety, and take a shooting class and you know learn a little bit about your gun, put it in a safe, and then get another gun safe and put your clip and ammo in that. And you know what? If you got a holster, I would recommend putting that in a gun safe too. That way, you have to make 3 openings of safes before you can get your gun and hurt somebody. It's like, oh, I'm not going to hurt anybody. No, but this is a buffer. It's like a buffer to keep you from hurting somebody or yourself. It's like, well, that's cute if I really planned on hurting somebody, but that's kind of like Minority Report. Don't you think that maybe I have the right to say I'm not going to hurt anybody because I have no record and never have and never hurt anybody and never even gotten in a fight or a traffic ticket or argued with a police officer? Yeah, but, that's you. You're different. The majority of people are not like you. And it's like, yeah, actually, the majority of people are exactly like me. Well, you know, we would like you to have to open all those gun safes to get your gun out, just in case we kick your door down illegally with a no-knock warrant. We don't want our police getting shot. It's like, why the fuck would you be knocking my door down? Well, you see, some of the things you post are kind of disturbing. And so we think you could be a danger to yourself or others. That's why we passed all these red flag laws. And so all these laws are layered on top of one another. So you don't get hurt. Oh, me. Like I'm not planning on kicking my door down and flash banging my nursery and killing my kid. That would be you. Well, yeah, but we would have to do that because you're saying things that hurt people's feelings. And therefore, by doing so, you allowed that action or caused that action, like the cause and effect, the causal relations between what you're saying and us having to kick your door down at 3 a.m. and flash bang and kill your kid. It's your fault. And so these laws are to keep you from hurting yourself through these types of actions. Like, wow, I thought I was an American. Well, you are, but. So everybody has the right to do whatever they want, but. Now it gets back to what I said earlier about I'm a common sense kind of rule of law guy. I believe my rights end where yours literally begin. And so I can't, what did they used to say? As long as it doesn't break my bones or take my life, the other guy should be able to do it. That's how serious it is. So sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, apparently nowadays words will hurt you, and they will SWAT team your fucking ass, and your kid could die, and that's your fault. You hurt them. That's why it's for your safety, Mark. Don't you understand? A smart guy like you should get it. You're a fuck up, and we want to protect you from your own fuck upness. Oh, well, fuck me running. I didn't know that. But I thought I was an American. Well, yes, you are, Mark. But. So anytime I hear somebody preference anything with a but, I want to shoot them. Now, that is illegal because, in my way of thinking, hurting people violates their rights because now I've taken my belief and forced it onto somebody else. But see, we have a justice system in America and a bunch of politicians that are destroying our Constitution. Well, they're not destroying it. They've already destroyed it. It's over. You no longer live in a constitutional republic. You no longer have a Bill of Rights, and you no longer have any rights whatsoever. So they're breaking the law. And they go, yeah, but. No, there are no buts in the Constitution. So they are now the enemy. They're the enemy by allowing invaders to come into our country. They're the enemy by taking all of our tax dollars and our money and enslaving us to a life of bondage and work to pay for these wars that we didn't ask for. You are a slave. You've always been a slave. We thought we ended slavery, but we didn't. That was just one group of people that had been brought over here before America was even America. And we ended that. But then taxation without representation has created Slavelandia, as Gerald Celente calls it. And you don't even have to be black to be slave anymore in America. I mean, a lot of people are slaves. Egyptians used to be slaves or enslaved the Israelites. As it says so in the Bible. So you are now a slave, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, fucking Martian. I don't care where you come from. You are a slave. You are being worked to death, just like the rules in the Bible about labor. Like, I can't remember the word, but it was, kind of like a layman theory that you work and you exchange your life day by day for your existence. In America, we call it dollars. Other countries, they call it rubles or yens or whatever. But it's one thing to just work at a job because you like it and to get paid and send your kids through college. That's kind of awesome. That's why we do it. We're free to do it. But when the government works you so hard that one person, one working family member can't support the rest of the family like it used to be back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when there were no taxes like in the 20s and the 1900s, early 1900s, when captains of industry built giant empires because they weren't taxed to death. So they built universities and libraries and theaters because they had so much money, giving the people what they wanted. It's not like they were stealing people's money because that was illegal even back then. They created Hershey's chocolate, and people liked it so fucking much that he became so fucking rich that he built the town of Hershey and built universities and schools and hospitals, stores. Why? Because he had the money. And he wanted his people to keep working, and he paid them good, just like Henry Ford did. He said, I wanted my employees to make enough money to buy my car. Hershey wanted people to make enough money in his factory to at least have a little disposable income to buy his chocolates. Oh, they were bad. They were robber barons. No, they were Americans that made a shit ton of money giving the customers what they wanted at the best price they could come up with. And now we have the same companies doing that, getting people what they want. Like, I love Amazon. He gets me everything I want plus free delivery at a good price. Is he a robber baron? No, he's a fucking awesome dude. But now they have to pay so much in taxes that they have to do all this virtue signaling to keep in business. They got to meet these ESG standards and bullshit like that. And so it starts cutting into their bottom line. They raise prices, and Americans don't understand economics that anytime prices go up through red tape, you get to pay for it. So now you have to work 2 fucking jobs and 3 fucking jobs and 4 fucking jobs, and so does your wife and your oldest kid. That is a fucking slave. So we don't see it because it's so incremental. It's incrementalism. It's the Overton window. And soon it will all be over. And that will be kind of awesome because, Earth has been really an awesome place. It's been kind of fun being alive and running around and looking at these beautiful mountains and the scenery and hiking and camping. And it's been really kind of, real. It's a real existence. I got my body. I get to eat ice cream. I like ice cream. I get to quit eating ice cream because it's bad for my health. I like my health. So it's been real and it's been fun, but it sure as fuck has not been real fun. So if I die, I die. In fact, that's kind of the way of things, isn't it? Like, you look at bugs fly around the light and the next morning they're dead. You look at birds, they have babies, they fly around, they get eaten by a cat, they're dead. The babies jump out of the nest and try to fly, and one of them hits the ground, and cat runs up and eats it before it wakes up. Mom can save it. And mom and dad are just like, well, that sucks, Bob. You should have paid attention to dad's flying lessons. Oh, well. And then they die, and everyone dies. Dogs die. I love my dog. Too bad it's almost 11 and it's going to get old and die, and I'll still be like alive missing it. So that's just the way of things. What are you going to do about it? Not really a fucking thing, really. But anyway. So we've lost America. And when people rise up, like that movie with Michael Douglas falling down, and you watch it and you see what drove him to that point, you go, I kind of get it. I don't agree with what he did, but I get it. I understand that. Well, when we reach that point, and we're all fucking terrorists, law-breaking pieces of shit that are violating red flag laws and everything, and own guns and don't tell the government, you will all be illegal and be getting arrested. And when you fight against that, that is called resistance to tyranny. And that is your duty to God if you believe in the Bible. Stop fucking believing the bullshit they tell you to believe and become a man or a woman of God. Learn to read history. Learn to look at the system you live in and how corrupt it's gotten, and that you're prostituting your children's lives to a life of slavery so you can have what? Another follower? Or whatever it is that rocks your world? If you can't look at America and go, we are fucked. I am a slave. And I'd put that on a t-shirt, but some people get their feelings hurt and then I'd be a racist. So we can't even do that because the government has told you that I am a racist. But don't worry about it because the government told me that you hate China. You're a racist too. Well, I'm a racist. I believe in the human race. The race God created. I'm human. So if you can't start looking at it and going, what the fuck? What are we going to do here? You're all going to be sold as slaves to somebody bigger and better than America. And America's not that big and bad anymore. We have become weak, inept, neutered, a bunch of limp, dick, hairy-legged men running around thinking, well, I'm a man because I'm in touch with my feelings. Well, you know what? It takes a big man to cry. And it takes a bigger man to laugh at them. And I'm laughing at all these woke tard little crybaby fucking gen whatevers going, well, I need a safe space. Well, it's coming. You just keep voting the way you did, and the whole of America will become a safe place. You'll be a slave, you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. But for me and my household, fuck you, fuck them, fuck that existence. I am free. I have inalienable rights, just like my dog can protect itself. The state doesn't say it can, it just can. And if you don't understand the word inalienable or shall or what they're doing to us in America, then ignorance truly is bliss. So I'm going to wrap it up. I think my phone recorded pretty much everything now, maybe, I guess. Fuck, I don't know. So it shut off a few times, so if the editing's a little bit janky, I'm sorry about that. I'm starting a new project where I'm going to start a new business building micro trailers, like little square drops and teardrops and base camp trailers. And the website isn't fully operational now, but it's TC is the letter, like T is a Tom, C is a cat, overland.com. But most of them I'm just going to build kind of one-offs for to start and stuff. So I'm going to be working on that and posting some videos. And if you want to get a hold of me, I think it's Mark at tcoverland.com. I'm going to back off more of the, my thing. I've eliminated a lot of my other websites that were up there, like defundbureaucracy.info. Some of my I'm trying to get rid of a lot of websites, or not websites, but Facebook groups and things. But you can't. I guess they're there forever, like AIDS or herpes or whatever the fuck. So pretty soon they'll just be prepperguy.website.com, tcoverland.com, and I'll probably be canceling all of my other subscriptions because it just costs way too much money and it's fucking annoying, really. So go on to TC Overland on YouTube. I got a couple videos there. Go to the website, look around. It's like I said, it's not up and running, but it's there. Check it out. Go, ooh, nice website. Can't go anywhere and do anything, but that's cool. And I will talk to you guys all later. Probably less than I have in the past. Love you all. Bye-bye.